Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. Today in this video I'm going to check the highly anticipated Eachine TRASHCAN Micro Brushless Whoop. In this video I'm going to go over its features, show you how to set it up, and then head outdoors and fly it both using 1S and 2S Lipo batteries. The TRASHCAN comes inside this nice Eachine branded carrying case. Inside we can find the user manual, and it seems like they're being in a rush. And this is not a very high quality copy, and hopefully soon they're going to have a user manual online as well. Next we can find the trash can, a simple USB charger, 4 300 mAh 1S LHB Eachine branded batteries, and a bag that contains one set of extra 40mm propellers, a screwdriver, a jumper plug that will enable you to fly the trash can with a single 1S Lipo battery, an XT30 battery connector, a hex key driver and a propeller extractor tool, 2 pads for mounting the batteries, and finally some extra screws. Just like the Mobulo 7, the wheelbase of the trash can is 75mm, but except this similarity and the fact that they are using the same 40mm propellers, everything else is pretty much different. The trash can is using 0803 15,000 kV motors. On the center we can find the Racerstar Crazybee F4 Pro flight controller. The difference between the F3 Pro and the F4 Pro is that first of all, of course, the F4 Pro is using an F4 processor, and except that, the integrated 4-in-1 ESC has been upgraded from 5A to 6A. In addition, when you get in the trash can, you can choose between 4 versions. You can get a version that comes with a flight controller with a built-in FrSky, FlySky, or Spectrum compatible receivers, and you can get a version that doesn't come with a built-in receiver. On the back we can find 2 PH 2mm battery connectors for connecting 2 1S Lipo batteries in series. If you wish to power up the trash can using a single 1S battery, you will need to plug the provided jumper into one of the battery connectors in order to close the circuit. Next we can find an LED strip with the trash can logo in the center. On top of the flight controller, under the canopy, you can find a 48 channels VTX. It has a selectable output strength of 25 and 200 mW, but according to the user manual, it's only 25 and 100 mW, so shortly I'm going to measure its output strength. In addition, it supports smart audio using TBS protocol, but if you wish, you can also configure it using this button over here. Finally, on the front of the trash can, you can find the excellent Caddx Turbo EOS 2 Nano FPV camera. The angle is adjustable by loosening the screws of the sides of the camera, and it goes all the way up to this position and all the way down to being about parallel to the quadcopter. By the way, when you get in this camera separately, you can choose between 4x3 and 16x9 versions, and for some reason, Eachine chose to include the 16x9 version with the trash can. The weight of the trash can is 33.9 grams, not including the 300 mAh 1S batteries, and 49.5 grams including them, so it's about 5 grams heavier than the Mobulo 7, which weighs 28.7 grams. The reasons for the weight difference is that first of all, the trash can is using a more robust frame. The structure of the frame itself looks more durable, and for example, the thickness of the struts is about 1.3mm comparing to the Mobulo 7 at around 0.6mm. In addition, the trash can is using slightly bigger motors, it has an LED strip on the back, and also the VTX is separate from the camera. In order to bind the FrSky version, you can use 2 methods. First of all, you can power up the trash can, and then you can enter binding mode by pressing the bind button, which is located over here on the bottom of the flight controller. So the left button is the boot button, and the right button is the bind button. After short pressing it, the LEDs on the bottom are going to turn solid, which means now the quadcopter is in binding mode. I recommend to use a non-conductive tool in order to press the bind button so you won't short anything out. The second option, which is a more convenient one, is to use Betaflight's CLI. It's possible since the Racerstar Crazybee F4 Pro comes pre-flashed with Betaflight 4. So all you have to do is to connect to the trash can using Betaflight, then head over to the CLI, enter bind, press enter, and now as you can see, the trash can is in binding mode. By default, the FrSky protocol is D16, and it is set by the receiver tab on configuration, so you can see the default value is FrSky X, which stands for D16, and if you wish to use D8 mode, you will need to change this value to FrSky D. So now I entered bind mode on the CLI, which is, by the way, the option which I recommend, because if you're going to use a sharp object on the bottom of the flight controller, you might damage the button. So I recommend to use the CLI, and if you have no other choice, use the button. So now it is set to D16. The remote controller is set to D16 as well. We can hit bind, telemetry on, and now you can see the quadcopter is bound because the LEDs on the bottom are flashing. You can see that right now everything is working correctly. And now I'm going to bind it on D8. So again, we're going to change the SPI RX support to FOSC ID. Save and reboot.
Telemetry lost.
Enter bind mode. Now the mode is set to D8. Hit bind. And as you can see, the quadcopter is bound. And again, everything works correctly. Now on the Mobile 7, some users reported that the D8 protocol works better, so I intend to try the TRASHCAN both using D8 and D16 protocols, and if I'm going to have any interesting finding, I'm going to post a separate video about it. The easiest way to configure the VTX is using the Smart Audio feature, so you need to enter the Betaflight menu by putting the throttle at mid position, tilting the yaw to the left, and pushing the pitch to the top. You need to head over to Features, VTX SA, which stands for Smart Audio, which is the protocol that the VTX is using. You can enter a selection by tilting the roll to the right. Then over here you can change the channels, you can change the bands, and you can also change the output strength between 25 and 200. In order to save the settings, just select Set, then Confirm, and your settings are going to be saved. Now I'm going to measure the output strength of the VTX. When the VTX is set to 25 mW, I'm getting around 30 mW. When it's set to 100 mW, I'm getting around 100 mW. And when it's set to 200 mW, which is actually 500 mW, and I'm going to get to it in a second, the measured output strength is around 160 mW. So like Joshua Bardwell likes to say, here is Gal from the future, and at first I only tested the output strength of the VTX when it was set to 25 and 200 mW because I thought these are the only two available options, and I was kind of disappointed to discover that the maximum output strength is 100 mW. Then I decided to try the third option, which is 500 mW, and I discovered that the VTX actually has three modes, which are 25, 100 and 200 mW. So on my test flight, which you are about to see in a moment, when it's written 200 mW, it's actually 100 mW, and I'm going to let Eachine know about it, and hopefully they're going to update the description. Now, by the way, another thing that I discovered while debugging the VTX is that it's being powered up also when it's connected only with the micro USB connector, so make sure that when the quadcopter is connected to your computer to have the antenna on, otherwise you might burn the VTX. Now, unlike the Mobile 7, the TRASHCAN doesn't have an onboard buzzer. So what I recommend to do on Betaflight under configuration, head over to D-Shot beacon configuration and turn on RX lost and RX set, hit save and reboot, and now the motors are going to act as buzzers. It's not going to be as loud as the buzzer of the Mobile 7, but still it's better than nothing, and it might help you find your quadcopter in case it will get lost. Finally, after this pretty long introduction, the next thing I'm going to do is to quickly go over Betaflight configuration and then head outdoors and test the TRASHCAN out. In this video, I'm going to include a shorter flight footage because I don't want it to be too long, so if you'd like to see more flight footage, check out this video over here. So I hope you enjoyed the short flight footage, and overall I can tell you that, as expected, that trash can is everything but trash. This is a great 2S power whoop, and the only issue I had with it is that the camera has lots of jello, and maybe it's related to the fact that the frame came a little bit broken and I had to glue it. And I also tried to put a little sticker on the bottom of the camera in order to reduce the vibrations, but it didn't seem to help. So what I intend to do is to add some rubber O-rings on the sides of the camera, and maybe it's going to help to reduce the vibrations. Regarding the FPV camera itself, I can tell you that the Caddx Turbo EOS 2 Nano FPV camera performed very well, and even though it's a little bit disappointing that they chose to include the 16:9 version, and I flew the trash can using a 4x3 goggles, it wasn't that noticeable. In terms of range, I got to around 200 meters without any problems, and as I mentioned before, I only tested the VTX using 100 mW settings. The telemetry was lost a couple of times, and I didn't want to get too far because the grass was a little bit wet, but I can estimate that when the VTX is set to 200 mV in an open field, you can get to around 400 meters. In terms of flight time, I could get around 3.5 minutes using the included 300 mAh 2S batteries, which is a pretty impressive flight time, and I could get even close to 5 minutes of flight time using these two GNB 450 mAh 1S batteries, and they can fit on the bottom. You will need to push it a little bit, but it will fit, and you should be careful not to break these plastic parts. And also you should note that if you're going to use these big batteries, it's going to expand the plastic parts, and then you will need to use another sticker if you would like to use these 300 mAh 1S batteries, which are of course much smaller. I know you're probably asking yourself, is this the Mobula 7 killer? And I can tell you that it definitely feels more powerful than the Mobula 7, but I still really like the Mobula 7 and I highly enjoy flying it. So if you have the Mobula 7, I think that you should enjoy it. And of course, if you want to get a new power whoop right now, the trash can is an excellent option. But I wouldn't put the Mobula 7 in the trash can, and I think that if you have it, you should enjoy it. And maybe when the time comes to buy a new whoop, you should consider the trash can, but probably by then a new and exciting whoop is going to show up. But if you don't have the Mobula 7 and you're debating which power whoop to get, I think that you should go with the trash can. It currently costs less than $100, so it will give you lots of fun and will provide you with an excellent value for money. Now, before wrapping up this video, I have a final advice, and if you have the trash can already or you're going to get it, you're going to see that the battery leads are going to pop out from the right side and then they can get into the propellers. So what I recommend to do is to unscrew this screw over here and put the red wire on the left side, the ground wire on the right side of the screw, and then it's going to make sure that the battery leads are not going to get into your propellers. So overall, as you probably understand, I'm really impressed with the trash can, and I think that Eachine did a great work, and I'm going to post more videos about this power whoop, so stay tuned. As always, I thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it and you find it useful. If you have any questions about the trash can, feel free to ask it in the comment section down below. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up if you like this video, and consider subscribing to my channel and hitting the notification bell if you're not already subscribed. See you in my next videos, and goodbye.